Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program by M.A. Ido. In our previous video, we had discussed the prologue to So the Past Does Not Die by Perehulist, a Sierra Leonean great writer. This time, we are looking at the story itself. Now, the physical settings of So the Past Does Not Die are basically Sierra Leone and America, while the temporal setting is actually the post independent Sierra Leone, and it captures the civil war that led to loss of lives in the country. Now, the story is set in the fictional village of Talaba with the protagonist known as Fina Bamara, Fina for short. The parents of Fina being Amadu and Nabu, while the grandmother is Baramusu. Baramusu is the custodian of Talaba tradition. Yes, that believes in female genital mutilation, otherwise referred to as circumcision rites of females. Baramusu is actually the mother of Amadu. Yes, Baramusu is actually a foil to Amadu and Nabu, believing in the fact that Fina, her grandchild, must undergo female genital mutilation as opposed by Amadu and the wife, Nabu, who believed that Fina must not undergo any circumcision rites, owing to the fact that their first daughter, Demusu, underwent the circumcision rites that led to her death. Yes, in the absence of Amadu, Baramusu actually takes Fina to Fafi Hut, where the circumcision rite is to be carried out. When Amadu discovers, Amadu rushes to Fafi Hut and recovers the daughter, takes her to a clinic for her to be properly taken care of. Yes, but the women of Talaba, led by Baramusu, are not happy with Amadu because they feel it's a sacrilege. They feel it is an abominable act for a man to enter the Fafi hut when circumcision rite of any lady is being carried out. Yes, when the hostility towards Amadu and members of his family becomes too obvious, they have no choice than to move from Talaba village to Freetown. When they arrive Freetown, they actually discover again that even in Freetown, nothing is free. That in Freetown, they believe in one slogan, eat or be eaten. There is this individualistic lifestyle in Sierra Leone, every man to himself, rather than communalistic lifestyle as we discover in the village of Talaba. Yes, while in Freetown, Amadu actually works as a security guard with a man called Pahedo with the help of his uncle known as Alhaji Umar, whom he actually resides with in Freetown. Yes, Amadu actually is not fortunate. Shortly after he obtains that job, he actually dies of tetanus poisoning, and Nabu is unable to continue taking care of the education of Fina. It is Pahedo now, whom Amadu worked for before his death, that now takes over the affairs of Fina, sending her to school. But in the home of Pahedo, made up of his wife, Auntie Mati, his children, Edna, Adi, and his twins, Tai and Kennedy. None appears to like Fina except Edna. Yes, shortly after the death of Amadu, Fina is sponsored to Crowder College by Pahedo. And then while in Crowder College, Fina feels that she's already away from all of the problems that she encounters in the home of Pahedo, that now she has enough freedom. But in Crowder College, she faces a lot of challenges as it borders on you know discriminations because of her tribe. Everybody refers to her as a Fulani or Fula tribe, and because of that, nobody actually likes her. Even her first boyfriend, known as Kemi Kuka, had to abandon the lady. Why? Because she's of Fula origin. Yes, during her final stay in college, Fina has a problem with one of the courses known as organic chemistry. she has no choice than to meet with a laboratory assistant known as, you know, Kizzy. Kizzy, whose real name is Hezekiah Bacchus. That one takes advantage of Fina and lures her to his house where he eventually rapes the girl. But when Fina was actually going to the home of Kizzy, she remembers the words of her grandmother that says, "Do not call the rope, this time the rope of morality." And she also remembers the words of her father Amadu that says, "Do not follow the easy paths." Yes, but she abandons these voices heard by her. She eventually went to the home of, Kizzy, and she gets raped by the said guy. Yes, she becomes emotionally destabilized, and because of the problems that she has encountered because of the rape from Kizzy, she decides to quit her stay in Crowder College and move to a more comfortable scenic line. This time around, a rich diamond land called Koidu. While in Koidu, she works as a health officer in, a clinic. Yes, and she has an American friend right there known as Meredith. Meredith, of course, has a boyfriend too, a white man called Chick Morrow. Right there in Koidu, we are told that Fina actually meets, fortunately for her, a man called Sidibe Kake. Sidibe Kake is a very wealthy man rich in diamonds who has interest in Fina, wanting to take Fina as his fourth wife. Already, Sidibe Kake has three wives. His third wife, being Aziza, also works right now in the same clinic with Fina, but Fina declines the offer. But along the line, because of the business deal that CDB Kake has with Fina's American friend known as Meredith, he has to sponsor Fina's trip to America. By the end of the day, Fina and her American friend Meredith, together with the boyfriend of Meredith known as Chief Morrow, all of them moved to the United States of America. While in the United States, the first hosts of Fina are Meredith and Chief Morrow before she becomes independent. She discovers in America that, in fact, it is not as she had earlier thought. Life is also difficult. Yes, she found it difficult to get a decent job for her to have enough money to send back home to her mother Nabu and of course her sister Isa. Yes, she begins to uh, do one or two odd jobs. She eventually gets a job at a place called Juanita's Daycare Learning Academy. Yes, but here she's not fortunate. She gets sacked. Why? Because they lied against her that she's maltreating a boy under her care, and the name of that boy is Billy Bob. Whereas she's not the one maltreating the boy, it's actually a white man called Crosspatch that is maltreating the boy simply because of the color of Fina. They feel she's a black woman because at that time the issue of racism was pronounced in the US, so Fina is actually sacked. Yes, Fina actually begins to make more friends. She actually came across Amazinga and Kata, an African American lady, yes, who has interest in anything African. Yes, always wearing African dresses, always talking like an African, always behaving like an African, such that even her family members are not happy with her. It is actually the cousin of Amazinga and Carter, known as Gemma, that Fina first fell in love with, and both of them eventually got married. But sooner or later, their marriage never worked because Gemma is discovered to be a drug addict who is always maltreating Fina at the slightest provocation. So both of them divorced. Shortly after they had divorced, Fina actually fell in love with another man called Kami, whose real name is Cameron Dexter Brady. Cam is actually a Trinidadian urologist. A Trinidadian is someone from Trinidad. Trinidad is a nation in the Caribbean world, and a urologist is a doctor that deals with urinary tract diseases. Yes. Shortly after both of them fell in love, they had a heated argument. That means argument between Cami and Fina. The argument boils down to the fact that Cami sees female genital mutilation as absurd. And Fina counters Cami that men do not allow them to carry out this female genital mutilation because they want to have control over them. Yes, and they also have another heated argument of which Kami believes that Fina constantly sending money to her younger sister is a way of exploiting her. It's an exploitation from her sister. But Fina also counters this, letting Kami know that in Africa they believe in what they call communal living, that you must learn to help your family, you learn to help your relatives. And that's the argument. Yes, as at the time this argument is on, the war in Sierra Leone is becoming, alarming, such that the sister of Fina, known as Issa, alongside her boyfriend Hassan, looked for a way to actually move to Guinea. All right. Yes, but at this point too, Fina is already pregnant for Kami, and they have to fix a date for their wedding. But on their wedding day, something terrible happened. Gemma, her ex-husband, showed up and disrupted the wedding, claiming that they did not properly divorce. Several revelations started to come in, up to the point that Fina got tired herself. One of the revelations that came out is that Fina discovered that Kami, her husband to be, actually earlier dated a lady called Anushka Mutari, and together they had a son known as Glenn Gibson. Yes, Kami, on the other hand, discovered that at a particular point in Crowder College, Fina was raped by one Kizzy known as Hezekiah Bacchus, who is now uh, a husband to Edna, or the foster sister of Fina. Yes, and that at one time in Crowder College, Fina was into examination malpractices. At this point, Fina got confused. She doesn't know what to do anymore. She had to make up her plans to move directly to, you know, Sierra Leone to reunite with her people so that the path of tradition, the path of love and civilization will not die. Yes, in fact, her plan to return to Sierra Leone is the climax of the story. When she eventually got to Sierra Leone, she thought earlier that she was going to meet Baramusu, the custodian of tradition, her grandmother. But because of the war in Sierra Leone, Baramusu is nowhere to be found. She was only able to find a blind old woman known as Mama Yegbe, and she adopted her alongside a young girl called Mawaf, and she started to take care of them. Fina, remember, came with pregnancy to Sierra Leone. She's delivered of a baby girl, and it is Mama Yegbe that names the girl as Demusu Celeste, which is actually a hybrid of both um, Western and African tradition. Okay, Demusu representing Africa, alright, an offshoot of the name of the sister of Fina that died earlier because of female genital mutilation. Yes, yes, and Celeste, a reference to the parents of Kami. Yes, and along the line, uh, Kami also returns from Sierra Leone to join Fina, so the path does not also die. By the end of the day, Fina got a job as a coordinator of a place for children that are affected by the civil war, the IDP children. And that's part of her dreams she has actually realized or actualized, because she earlier thought of setting up a female genital mutilation center for rehabilitation of, females affected by this, tradition of theirs. Yes. With the coming together of Mama Yegbe, Mawaf, yes, and Demusu Celeste, this has actually brought about the earlier lost Musudogu village. Unlike the earlier Musudogu village that was lost, this present Musudogu village that's rising at the epilogue shows love, because we have a man there in their midst, unlike the first Musudogu village, and all of them unite in love. Yes, in our next video, we are going to look at the various themes in the text.